being from Jerusalem and seeing what's happening there, and which is incredible in terms of the kind of inventions and manipulation of laws and disregard for other human beings that I see. I wanted to find my own family as much as possible, the family history with regard to Jerusalem, see the place where my parents lived, where my grandparents lived, in West Jerusalem, as it turned out, as it is, and to emphasize that West Jerusalem is occupied property in a way, is just like East Jerusalem, just like the West Bank, and just like Jaffa, and just like Haifa. It's the same thing that happened at the destroyed villages, the villages like Ain Karim and Ain Hod near Haifa and Ain Karim near Jerusalem, which were totally vacated from Palestinian inhabitants, and Jewish people put in their place. Other than my own case, I know people who were from destroyed villages who are actually Israeli citizens, or vacated villages. And even when they tried to go and somehow, remember or stand under a tree, the police and the colonists who live in the colony that has been set up in the village would come and kick them out. I mean, the laws have been set up artificially to disinherit people and disallow them from claiming their properties ever, according to Israeli law. Plus, new land and new properties are being taken using that same law and other laws to take away people's lands and properties in Jerusalem and outside Jerusalem, in the West Bank. So it's a very, I consider it a very insidious kind of system. It's, what belongs to you belongs to me, and you have no right to say otherwise. With regard to Palestine in particular, I mean, there was a section of my book which had to be taken out because of the limitations of length, which was about writing on Western travel writing to Palestine, which is filled with preconceptions and kind of, putting the usual biblical narrative on the history of Palestine and the people of Palestine, and using the people of Palestine, the Palestinians, who are now disinherited and the Israelis call them Arabs, and they should go back to the desert. But the travelers tended to exploit the scenery of Palestine to try to place the biblical events there, but also use the people, the Palestinian people, the villagers, as illustrations of ancient history and biblical heritage, which is ironic because then the Palestinians become kind of illustrations, but they're actually invisible as real people. Until kind of the late or mid to late 19th century, the biblical stories were thought of as God's words and absolute truths, and the geography was accepted and all that. But since then, with all discoveries over the last 150 years, these have all been debunked. I mean, whether it's the story of creation, which was copied from from Mesopotamian myths, or the story of the flood, or even the story of Exodus. So a lot of discoveries over the last 150 years, whether it's Mesopotamian inscriptions or tablets, whether it's the discovery of Ugarit in northwest Syria in 1928, or the Dead Sea Scrolls by a Palestinian shepherd in 1947, all these have led to really tremendous changes and shifts in knowledge about the ancient history of the region, especially over the last 30 years. tremendous scholarship that has come out. It's in journals and books that some people read, but not everybody. But it hasn't been translated into an alternative or different history of Palestine and Jerusalem, in particular, an alternative history that does not rely on these claims and old stories which have been debunked. And so I felt it was my duty to try to insert some of that into the article as well. And some of it is still there, but some of it is, as I said, is taken out. The impression that people have is that, everybody was Jewish in Palestine in a certain period, which is absolutely not true. And then there's documentation to show that, a lot of other people were either polytheistic. In fact, the temple itself, which is claimed to have been, to have been a Jewish temple, was built by Herod, one that's destroyed by the Romans, was probably not probably, but with some evidence, a kind of shared place of worship for all the religions at that time, including Yahwism. I like to call it Yahwism because the extreme elements of. There were two kinds of Jews at the time. Talk about 2,000 years ago, approximately. The kind of Hellenized, believers in this religion, and the more fundamentalist, rabbinical kind of establishment. So it's a progressive, insidious process where they can continue to claim based on heritage that has been debunked. For example, in Hebron, there's a mosque which is associated with Abraham, but was actually previously a church, the location of a church, and previously of pagan worship. But still, they can go and say, Abraham is our father, and he is only our father, and therefore we have the right to take it over. And the same with Jerusalem. There are a few locations other than the enclaves which they took because a Jew owned them in the 19th century or something like that. Okay, if the family of that man, the descendants of that man came to say, I want to take ownership of this house, I can accept that, but not, the Zionist state and any Jew to come and take a property just because it was, owned by a Jew, just as they have taken away my right to claim the property of my father in West Jerusalem. Why should they have the right to go and claim the property of some other Jew in the 19th century who is not related to them? So, but then there's what they call, quote unquote, the city of David. And then they make all these archaeological discoveries and try to, collapse the biblical narrative onto them, whereas even Israeli archaeologists are telling them this platform that you say is left of the palace of David has nothing to do with David. The citadel, which is called David's citadel, has nothing to do with David. He's not the one. It was called David's citadel by the Byzantine, by Herod, by the Byzantines, by Herod, just to respect tradition. It's just like building it on theoretical claims from the Bible and their descent from the Hebrews and the Israelites. So, it's all this fabrication, it's all this collapsing of the narrative, which has been debunked onto a real geography. Other people built Jerusalem, not the Jews. The walls of Jerusalem, the houses, the stones, they were built by other people. Not by. Okay, some of them were from the minority of Jews, 5% back in the early 20th century. But the buildings, the stones are Palestinian stones. Are stones that have been inherited from hundreds and thousands of years of building. What gives you the right to come and with shady excuses and connections to claim and take property away. And that's why I wanted to remind people of West Jerusalem first, and Jaffa and other places, because it's a progressive process of taking any excuse to take more property, using even Muslim heritage. I mean, they've taken over holy places that were entirely unassociated with Judaism, simply because the name is Quranic, from the Quran, and that kind of echoes a Jewish biblical name, and they just take it over. But I think this extremism that's developing on all sides. I'm not saying on one side, but on the Zionist side, it's almost like different from the extremism you see in Islam, even in Christianity. But the extremism that's happening now, it's more like I call it almost like a strategic kind of extremism, where you know you're cruxing or you're using the blindness of some people in the West and some religious people all over in order to claim more and more, in order to be more crafty, in order to actually become more rude and forward with your claims. And I think that's what's happening now. It's kind of a strategic kind of extremism. The truth is being covered up. Falsehood is becoming almost a replacement for the truth, and people should wake up to uh, to these misuse of either history or religion. The people who are within Israel, I'm talking about Israeli Jewish citizens, are being persecuted as much as Palestinian activists and civil resistors. So they're being, and going back to laws, and laws are being enacted in order to shut them up and disallow them from continuing. So it seems like heading towards more trouble, I think.